You're listening to the RynoRyder's podcast. This is show number 4. I switched it up from episodes to shows because I think it was getting confusing with my Anchor RynoRyder's podcast, which are all episodes, and I'm up to 42 on there. So I decided to switch it up to shows. This is a show, this podcast is basically about, exposing what life is really like being an independent filmmaker living in Los Angeles, tearing down that alluring curtain of Hollywood, and just really talking about the industry and what it is in its current state today and where I see it going. Today's topic is right in line with that. Today's topic is where has story gone. I am joined by Josh Boyer, who, if you guys have been listening to earlier shows, is here again. Josh, thanks for being here again.
Yeah, happy to be back. Excited for another show.
And I am also joined with a friend and producing partner of mine, Gordon Weiske. Gordon, come on.
It's true. How are you today?
I'm fantastic.
Nice.
We're all good.
Happy,
All right.
Happy to be here.
And now is the time where I would give a plug to whatever sponsor is sponsoring the show today. Whose phone is it? Is it yours? Son of a bitch.
Sponsored by Son of a Bitch.
Take two. Today's show is sponsored by nobody, again. So if you want to be a sponsor of the show, now is the time where I would give you a well-written plug, something very intelligent, smart, witty, clever, possibly humorous, that would help you sell whatever it is you're selling or do whatever it is you want to do. All right, so let's get into it. Today's topic, where has story gone? Okay. Basically what I mean, the reason I picked this topic as a show topic is I believe you look at the current trend of movies, it's 2018, March of 2018, Black Panther just came out in February, a month notoriously known for, that's when the studios dumped their product, right?
Mm-hmm.
And made $1 billion. Okay?
Yeah.
Kudos, bravo to all of that. People look at it as a fluke, or like this the movie's so great, that's why I did all this. And I look at it and I say, like, no, I see what they were doing. They're literally just capitalizing on every single aspect to deliver. I mean, they're doing it very, very well, but the amount of innovation that is coming out of movies that are released today, and we're going to talk about the Oscars just happened, so we're going to talk about some of those films. I know I recently just saw the Best Picture winner. I think Gordon's seen it. I don't know if you saw Shape of Water.
No.
Josh?
It's about a giant fish.
It's just really, really.
Recap on that?
Yeah. It's just the lack of innovation. When I say in terms of like innovation, I'm not talking about obviously the technological advances. I mean, we're at a phase in filmmaking right now that is, rarely been seen in terms of the advancements of the technology that we're seeing there that is coming out. But the lack of innovation in storytelling. Let me break it down. I'll go back to like one of the books, and I even highlighted this morning. One of the books I've read over the last year or so is Aristotle's Poetics, right? Okay, Aristotle lived 350 BC, around that era.
Still looks great for his age.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But what he did, and Josh, I know you haven't read. Gordon, are you familiar with that at all?
I can only read scripts. Just books are a mystery to me.
Books are too difficult. Yeah. Well, it's only like 60 pages, by the way.
Is there pictures?
Aristotle wrote in really, really big letters.
It's are there pictures, Josh? And no, there are not.
It's grammar.
So it's basically what he did is he looked at the the stories that were being told at the time, the Iliad, the Odyssey, you know what I mean, stuff like that. I'm not an expert in those fields. I just know that stories were being told by humans to other humans to portray and tell, share how to live, how to love, how to, good and bad, right and wrong. I mean, we're all in agreement in terms of that, correct? Like, stories are important for the human race, basically.
Sure, yes.
I mean, I said it before, like in the last episode or whatever, is like, the only, that was it. There are no bad stories, there are only bad storytellers.
That's awesome.
Like, think about that. If I'm telling a joke or a punchline, and I'm not entertaining you, then nobody's gonna. I probably lost somebody in the first 3 minutes of this podcast, and is like, nah, not gonna listen to him anymore because I did a shitty job.
There you go.
However, stories are like the foundation of what we learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Passes knowledge.
Everything. I mean, yeah. So, basically, Aristotle looked at the stories that were being told and basically asked himself, why are people liking and enjoying some tales and stories but not others? And basically link together, common threads between the stories, through plot, character, whatever. And the very last one, he came up with six definitions of the importance of storytelling. Number one is plot, and then character, then as he ranks them down, the very last one is spectacle. And when you look at who's the biggest player right now in terms of studio films, it's Disney, period, hands down. Correct.
Disney is the largest company in the world. Right?
Dominating.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And continuing to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? I feel bold saying it, that just being like Disney has figured out that they flipped it so that spectacle has become the most important part.
Sure.
And that just I don't see that trend going away. So that's what this episode's kind of about, is that going from Aristotle in 350 BC to Black Panther 2018, and to see how things have literally completely switched ends in terms of importance. So Gordon, why don't you go first? Let me hear what do you think when I lay that theory? We've talked before.
Once we've talked.
Yeah. 22 hours in the car.
That's right. So, I mean, the Disney model is do a movie like Frozen, which will make $1 billion at the box office as well, but it's actually a genius merchandising campaign where they will sell 10 billion in lunch pails and towels, beach towels, and knapsacks. So, I mean, that is the pure genius of Disney. When Disney bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion, a lot of people were scratching their heads going why? It's but they had the vision of, no, we are going to continue this franchise and take it to, the next level. If you agree with how they're doing, it should be another podcast, but
right, yeah.
But as far as what Disney's doing is, they've got it down. They've been doing now for
Well, look at one of the first spectacles at Disney, Fantasia.
Yeah.
It's still selling. The most famous Mickey, is with him up there orchestrating, it's what, 30 years later, and they're still selling the same merchandise.
Yeah, totally. I think 80 years later.
Fantasia.
Fantasia was, I think, 60s or 50s even. It's been a while.
I mean, like I said, my family, my nieces know about it. They definitely have one at their house. So they bought one. I bought one. My parents have bought one, and it's nothing new. It's the same thing, just remade.
But I don't see but that was the genius of Walt Disney. That was one man's mind, right? Disney began from one man's creativity, right? And then he died, and then they
Frozen.
done the best.
They did Frozen.
I think they did, right? Or is that just a myth?
No, apparently this should be another side. Apparently they just froze his head because in the future, and hey man,
That's like a Simpsons bit,
it
though,
is.
isn't it?
It's but apparently it's that's what they did. His head is frozen somewhere one day to be brought back to life.
So do you see in 50 years from now,
Yeah.
kids like
What?
wanting to dress up like Captain America?
Great question. I don't know. I hope there's still kids around in 50 years from now.
Yeah.
So, well, let's look at it this way. As far as story goes, I've witnessed in the industry where story fails is when a big studio gets involved and approaches it from the marketing PR side first, as opposed to the most important thing of any successful movie is a good script, is a good story. Whereas I've witnessed like in a franchise like X-Men, where they will release the poster first with a release date. Before the script is written.
No pressure.
No, yeah, right. and then, but they will throw $100 million at that project to get it done. Like, that is one example of many where, script is secondary because they're going to PR the crap out of it because that opening weekend is where they will try to get all of their money, hype it up, and then the audiences will vote with their pocketbooks if it was a
Exactly.
movie.
Well, and that's just it. It's like, I don't know, this topic or this point of view might cause some disturbance. I mean, because look, Black Panther made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Deadpool made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Both of them in February. I didn't think I would see that in my life. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, February, it's all the dog shit movies. As much as like the trailers were well cut and stuff like that, every time you went and saw it, it was like, it's just a piece of shit.
So is it also, because of, this is the first all-black movie and you are tapping into a whole other demographic that doesn't go to certain movies. So let's look at these 4 movies in the last 2 years. You have Black Panther, you have Get Out, you have last year's winner was Moonlight.
Also February is Black History Month.
Oh, there you go.
It helps for pushing it out during Black History
Yeah,
Month.
absolutely. So,
And I definitely think that is a reason why it made so much money. And it's good to see, like, I've seen like the fan reaction, you know what I mean? And it's like they've like really connected and responded. That's great.
Mhm.
That's great. I have not seen Black Panther. However,
yeah.
I will go on record right now as saying that it's not going to be anywhere near as good as the top 500 or 1,000 movies ever made. Like, I guarantee, I know the form, I know exactly what.
Yep.
I just watched Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
Thor 3, and I like the Thor movies. They're, they've been fun. I've always been like kind of surprised.
This one?
You know what I mean? It's like it's the same shit, and Disney's not dumb. Just like you said, they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not engaged in like how can we tell the best movie possible. It's how can we build the best movement or machine possible.
How can we reach the widest audience demographic? And I think in that franchise they've gone more towards family, which comic books should be family fun, right? So but you still need, like, Deadpool is more obviously edgy and caters more towards an adult audience. But I think what they've done with the Thor franchise is go more towards the family fun angle.
Okay, so let's go from there, and let's dive into like where I think was like the golden era
Please.
of cinema.
Yeah.
Truly, it was like it had been around long enough for the innovations and everything. A class of heroes, you know what I mean, like reigned for years, and now it's kind of on the downfall of that. So Gordon, you were just saying like how Disney, does these, is very family oriented, which I totally agree with. Let's throw it back to, even pre the 80s, I mean, the first Star Wars was 77, you know, but in that era of Lucas's, Spielberg's, you know, all of them, they were making movies to entertain for families. Spielberg especially, like E.T. was 1982, and it's like, right? I mean, to this day, it makes me cry. But that's just my point. Like, studios were pumping their monies and doing the same thing, following the same basic molds that they continue to do today, only today it's at massive scale. But they were doing technically the same, similar type of thing back then. But filmmakers were allowed to, I think because the medium was still so relatively early and new, that I think the filmmakers saw the opportunity to express themselves in an artistic form. They were exceptionally well at it, and because they knew, because the marketing dollars came in, it's almost like the movies were selling the marketing as now the marketing selling the movies. You know.
So are you saying the 70s was the best decade as far as storytelling goes?
I do.
Movies? I agree.
I mean, yeah.
I do.
I can cite examples from before or after, but like that was just like.
So I have my own theory on this, and I'd love to share it. So we're witnessing again what kind of happened in the late 50s and 60s, and why the 70s cinema became so great is because the studios, who were completely in control, you know, especially in the 50s and 60s, they didn't know they were missing what the target audience was, which was all the baby boomers. And, you know, they were still pumping out all these musicals, you know, these big, grand, lavish things that nobody was really going to. And it was like a movie like Easy Rider that comes out.
Yeah.
That totally is just like, well, it's just there's no script. By the way, you can't find a script on Easy Rider.
Yeah.
I've tried. It's because these guys were just like, you know, going off of probably, you know, some ideas.
Which by the way,
Yeah.
I don't think Easy Rider's that good a movie.
Well,
and
no,
because of that.
Exactly. But because it was an independent, and it hit a certain audience that the studios were unable to, it allowed, you know, and that's 68, 69, and then it allowed in the 70s more independent. The studios were taking, you know, less control and allowing the Spielbergs and the Lucas and actors as well, like Pacino and everybody to start doing more of these independent films. Scorsese, we got to throw in that mix as well. So.
Yeah, definitely, of course. The funny thing about that, what I think is funny about that time is like you had these filmmakers that are able to do horror, scary movies, adventure, action, and comedy.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is like Zemeckis started out as a comedic director.
That's
you know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Like, what was that one? Used Cars.
Oh yeah.
Used Cars is like, you know, that was like early 80s, but still, the fact that they were able to come, and their comedy wasn't like shtick or slapstick. It was just kind of like, it was just a well-told story. You know what I mean? It was just a well-told story. Like, if you know anything about Todd Phillips, you know who Todd Phillips is, the director. He did all the Hangover movies.
Okay.
Crap, what's the one where Will Ferrell and they start their own frat party?
Old School.
Yeah, great. Just like mix. He has that same vibe as a comedy director. And I watched this interview with him recently, and he was talking about how he approaches comedy as just, well, tell an entertaining story first and foremost, number one, and then, you know, every once in a while you can, you know, have somebody have a permanent erection boner, or I don't know, whatever, like dick jokes, you know, he wants to throw in there or whatever, you know, that's what you can do. But definitely so I want to talk more about that era with the Spielberg stuff, because that's one thing I wrote down that I wanted to bring up is I find today a lot of filmmakers are afraid to share with the accessibility and vulnerability of information being leaked out, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
because
gotcha.
through internet and technology, whatever, back then, those guys were not afraid to share their ideas, help each other out. You know what I mean? Not need a contract, not need a NDA signed,
Correct.
anything like that.
Yep.
Everyone knows. Well, I assume people know, but because this could be reaching a younger crowd. I don't know. Because when I had Kevin on the other day, I was like spitting stories to him, and he like had no idea about it. So I'll tell the story.
Sure.
But the famous speech in Jaws. Robert Shaw gives, and they're under, not only the first time they filmed it, he was drunk and like they couldn't do it, and then he came and delivered the next day, sober.
Or hungover.
That monologue went through Zemeckis's hand and eyes, like he did a draft. Walter Hill, did a draft. I believe Coppola or something. You know what I mean? Like Spielberg was just like, those were his buddies. Yeah. Those were his his schoolmates.
Yeah, totally.
And the fact that and I think the closest one they got to was I think one of Walter Hill's drafts or whatever, and just but there was probably 12 people that worked on this one monologue just to make it the best they possibly could, without any recognition, without any, put my name on it. Spielberg in Poltergeist. Spielberg saved that movie and directed the entire movie, I know for a fact. Directed the entire movie, and guess who's credited with it? Toby Hooper. Yeah. Because, Spielberg was like, well, I just want to make the best movie possible.
There you go.
And tell the best story.
Yeah.
I feel like people are shrinking in more to themselves in terms of willingness to share their opinions. Josh, what do you think?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's not even just directors, producers, it's actors too. How many times do you people are like, oh, I know I'm going to read this, and then they're like, I'm not going to share with anybody. I don't want anybody to steal my ideas. Even in workshops, it's very rare to find people that will share their true feelings about it, or people actually sabotage you at this day and age. One time I showed up on set and I was supposed to go to dress rehearsal and everything, and the dude that I was competing with still sent me in the wrong direction, knowing he sent me in the wrong direction.
That's fine.
You know what I mean? Just completely sabotaged me. I ended up being late. I walked into a closed set by accident because I thought I was going the right way, and he did exactly what he wanted to do and made me look like an idiot. Fortunately for me, it loosened me up because I was like, well, I already pretty much screwed up the worst I can, so I was like, all right, let's do this, and ended up getting the part. But
and growing up, I always felt like I would have made that move. You know what I mean? When I was younger.
Somebody?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm in good company here. Wasn't there a fourth person supposed to be here today, but we pointed him in the wrong direction?
Yeah. And take up the airtime. No, but you see what I'm saying? It's I could see why that guy did that. Because Hollywood is painted. Or from the outside perspective, it's painted this picture. That's why I say the alluring curtain.
Sure.
They've painted this picture that it's easy, or not easy, but it's those picked up off the street corner. It's the just right time, right place, whatever. I just think that's all bullshit now. I think it's all bullshit.
But even like you said with Spielberg, I've noticed in any part of my craft that I've gotten better with is when I've found the right people that meshed well, and you share ideas and you work together instead of having your one narrow vision of this is how it's going to get done. I'm going to do it at the same time every time. And then when you see people helping you follow that passion, follow that urge, and then it really helps out. And it just improves.
And so I think the studios are obviously in competition with each other, and they're keeping secrets. I always find it funny when two studios release a very similar movie or developing it at the exact same time. Best example would be
Volcano
and
whatever
the other one was. But you knew they were both about volcanoes. Or
was it Dante's Peak?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
but it was also something else. A Volcano and Dante's Peak, and then it was Armageddon and
Armageddon and
I think Morgan Freeman was and Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and there's like a lottery drawing.
Yep.
It's not bad. It's not bad
No,
actually.
it's a
like
good
yeah,
one.
but that is impact.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Deep impact.
Even better.
But even before that, Core keeps playing on TBS right now. It's about drilling through the center of the Earth and to save the world. Instead, let's put it in space, and then we'll drill through a meter.
There you go.
You know,
So studios are in competition with each other, but to going back to the point of people collaborated more, I think because they were all buddies and coming out of the same era.
I think they were ahead of the system.
Yeah, definitely, right? They were leading the system.
Yes.
And then now have themselves sort of created and become studios.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, shit. Spielberg built a studio.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that hadn't been done for
Lucas did
50
as well.
years.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I mean, like one of the big, you know, there's
Yeah.
Warner Brothers, and now there's like Warner Brothers, you know, there was Fox, we'll get to that.
Universal.
You know, Universal,
Paramount,
you know,
and,
Disney,
DreamWorks.
and then DreamWorks.
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, so now there's 6, they went from 5 to
Yeah.
6. So let's talk about the studios for a second, because I have written down here and I want to talk about that. In my head, if I were to sit down and write down and my prediction of how the studio systems are going, I know you guys aren't unfamiliar with this. 25 years, I think Disney is going to overpopulate. It's going to continue to swallow up the other studios. I believe Spielberg's going to be the last one. I don't think DreamWorks is going to fold. I think they're going to be the last vestibule, but they're going to be like hemorrhaging so much cash that they're eventually going to, you know,
Just to try to keep up.
implode or whatever, because they're not paying attention to what's happening on the streets. You know what I mean? I mean, it's literally like revolutionary type stuff. Can't think of the proper term or of the terminology of the time period I'm thinking about, of like the French artistic revolution in film. That's
Is there a guillotine that's involved
no,
here, or-
it was like a new wave thing. It was like, and they were like the auteur theory.
Oh, okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
The French
yeah.
New Wave, and they were just saying they all of a sudden came up with this auteur theory and
Yeah.
put it at Hitchcock, and Hitchcock got like kind of a big head about it because all of a sudden he's an auteur and he's not just a director
Art
and he's
Nouveau.
a genius.
Art
and,
Nouveau.
yeah,
There you go,
yeah. So there is this like new kind of thing going on with that underground that I just think the studios are completely disconnected. I could be 100% wrong. I don't think I am at all. But like Gordon, to what you were saying about like how movies are done before the scripts,
Oh, yeah,
like
the
Disney
movie
just
posters are
released
done, yeah.
Disney just released like the next like 20 to 25 release dates for Disney Marvel films.
Wow.
And without titles or anything, but all
Yeah.
the release dates up until like 2024. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I know that Black Panther just came out. It's going to take them a couple years to get that. So the one coming out in 2020 in February, guess what? Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
You know, the one's coming out in May, you know, it's like 6 years after Frozen, you know, Frozen 2 or Frozen 6, whatever. It's like, it's so like black and white obvious to me that I find it just like super fascinating. Maybe I don't talk to enough people to actually, you know, but like I don't need to, because everything's online. I read every comment, I read all
Sure.
the threads, like see how people engage and react to these when these announcements come out of like, oh, I'm so excited, 8 more years of superhero movies. Are you fucking kidding me? That's impossible. Like that's impossible. That's not gonna happen.
Well, then that creates, you know, the $100 million budgets, the big studio ones, that, you know, that's their 5-year plan that they will lay out. But then, and that's where I see the industry going. It's going to be the huge budget over the top that also bring in the huge revenue, and then the other half will be the indie filmmakers doing, you know, their
But
own thing.
eventually, do you agree with me that eventually the studio system, how Hollywood has been,
Will collapse.
will eventually implode on itself or self-destruct?
So two thoughts where, and I'm going to use Disney and Universal as an example of this. You know, they've branched out in beyond film where there's Disneyland and there's Universal Studios that generates
Okay, yeah.
$100 million plus as well. So it'll be interesting. I don't see that collapsing in the immediate. Who knows where the world's going to be and how we consume entertainment. I think that is the most fascinating thing. How technology will instead of us going to the movie theater, it's
No one goes anymore already.
are we in
Right,
the movie?
you sit at your home and put on your VR goggles and
I'm
go
thinking
and
beyond
experience
that.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking what universe you want to live in, and it's brought to you by Disney or DreamWorks.
Well, that's the new VR movie that's coming out now. It's about escaping reality and battling in VR world, which
Yeah.
is there a consequence? I mean, it's probably part of the movie,
Yeah.
but
Hold on, are we in a VR room right now?
Where am I? What is going on?
Matrix?
Kind of virtually,
Yeah.
almost. Like, we'll be able to look back at this in 30 years and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I remember when we sat in that room and talked about movies.
Well, let's go back to what the original, topic for the show is story. So,
Good idea. We'll bring it back on track. We'll go.
there you go. Bring that train right back to the station. When are we going to run out of good stories to tell?
Never.
So will there always be a need to tell a story around a campfire and do shadow puppets like our great ancestors did to projecting it onto the screen?
It's what taught us to not go near the saber-toothed tigers. You know what I mean? Like, yes.
That's right. or that theater down on Hollywood.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. But
So let's say there will always be a need to tell a story. In what format will that story be delivered to us? And then there's two other thoughts here. We on this panel right now are the creative types. We are the storytellers. Mm-hmm. There will always be an audience that needs to be entertained. So as long as that exists as well, there's people who, when they come home after their day, whatever their day is, they just want to be broadcast to.
Yeah.
In using an old terminology, but yeah.
It's funny because I was thinking about the other day, like, I don't know anybody who's not really a creative or in the industry, you know what I mean? I don't hang out with a lot of them. Shane, my high school, teacher back in, Seattle, like, he's like, I love this show, you know what I mean? Like, I live for this show every week when it comes out and stuff, and I'm just like, I couldn't imagine, the only reason I look forward to films is because I have to see it so I can process the data of like how good it is in my scale. So it's more like, but there are like billions of people.
7 apparently. 7 billion. Right?
7, that will just sit there and we'll watch and listen and hear whatever story is being told by the storytellers. But you just have to do it. You have to do it well.
Yep.
So, let's talk about it. I think that there is a literally almost mathematical way to break down the structure and everything of how to tell a great story.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Same way, like a good song, you can actually, put it to numbers and break down why this makes a good song, right? So
in terms of what you're going for, and I was doing a little research this morning because I was talking about the Aristotle and Poetics. I wanted to get his date right.
Did you cheat? Did you plan for today? Did you?
I did. I highlighted in his book. I highlighted parts of his book.
Okay, there you go. Does the library know you did that?
I bought the book. Actually, it was a Christmas
highlighted it.
Oh, even better. Okay.
Now you got me off. What was I talking about?
Mathematical.
So I was reading like comments and stuff like that about people talking about Aristotle and Poetics and people bashing them that's impossible. Stories are emotional. They're like this ethereal thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't mathematically or systematically break it down. And I was like, just like you, I'm like, no, you can.
Yeah.
I mean, people do it every single day.
Example, the Rocky formula. For any sports movie, you know, it's an unknown, comes out of nowhere, and then gets it taken away from them, only to come back to win it in the end and get the girl.
Okay,
or in this day and age, gets the guy.
So why is that's a great example. Why is Rocky 1 a hallmark of a film, and none of the other Rocky movies or any other boxing movie or any other sports movie, I mean, with the exception of a couple like the branch, you know, weren't able to recreate? Why is that's what I'm trying to dig down to, I guess, in this show.
So like the zeitgeist that made that that movie. Well, but see, I see that formula all the time. I recognize it. So in the Tom Cruise movie Days of Thunder, it's the exact same formula, but it's with the cars.
Days of Thunder was a ripoff of Top Gun, which Top Gun is a piece of like, in my world, a piece of cinematic art form. But that, I'll tell you, here's why I'm going. The reason why the reason why Rocky 1 is great, the reason why Top Gun's better than Days of Thunder, you know, and literally, you're exactly right, same formula, same fucking movie, same director, right? The reason those ones are better is that the creative behind it had a little bit more skin in the game, or a little bit more to lose. We all know the Rocky stories. For the youngsters that don't know, when, you know, Sylvester Stallone was a nobody before Rocky. He wrote the script, he sold his dog, you know, to get money to pay rent. Seriously, you know what I mean? Like, and like had a chance to sell it for 10 grand.
The dog went on to have huge success.
No, he bought the dog back. But like, he had an opportunity basically to sell the script but not be in it. But he believed so much in the story, he was so close to it and so passionate about it, that he stuck through it, ate the shit, and built $1 billion career and empire from it. Top Gun better than Days of Thunder. Tony Scott's second movie out the gate. His first movie was Hunger, that nobody saw, right? But was actually the closest to, like, artistically what he wanted to be as a director and a filmmaker. He got the chance to do Top Gun and said, I'm gonna knock it out of the fucking park so I can make a bunch of money for the studio and then have the freedom to make whatever movie I want. He did. He executed. He perfectly. He knew exactly what he was doing with Top Gun. You know, and then the studios come and oh, here's, you know, recreate it. By the way, you get 5 times more, you know, the pay to do Days of Thunder that you did with Top Gun. Of course, anybody didn't do that, you know, at that time. So I think that it's the like the heart or the soul of the movie. You know what I mean? Like where the story comes from, how it was formed.
Well, that's where people could argue with it. It is a formula, but if there's no passion and heart behind it, you know, you got to add something to the like we were saying earlier, the E equals MC squared.
My shaman, I gave me a
name dropper.
Great example. Hashtag shaman. Hashtag RynoRyder's shaman. Because we were talking about this thing, he said he was talking about IKEA. Okay.
Sure.
And IKEA, obviously, for those of you who don't know, sell furniture and products at a massive scale. Reproductive, you know what I mean? Reproduced.
You then bring home.
You then bring home and
assemble and
sell
wonder why there's 8 pieces still left in the package.
Drink a half a bottle of something and be like, why is this not here?
So, one person designs that desk. One person. His, you know, and he was talking about like the chi or the energy or whatever. Like, I'm the creator. I put, you know, it goes. It's one step away from the creator's hand. So that therefore it has the most energy to it. Any creative thing, whether it be a table, a chair, a script, a movie, you know, anything like that.
Your shaman shops at IKEA? I'm sorry.
I don't know if he doesn't everybody?
Yeah, of course. You know.
I hate IKEA. I can't go there. Abby goes there, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Have you ever played hide and go seek in an
That
IKEA?
would be bad.
No, I get anxiety. I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
This might be a new
now.
game. Maybe people are going to start playing hide and go seek at IKEA. No one's buying anything, but it's completely jammed.
Totally. I'm there. I go for the meatballs. Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
I hate free handouts too.
So,
but do you see what I'm saying? And so like that one person creates it,
Totally.
and then the you know, and and then it gets broken down to like 8 more people, and then eventually, and it just loses its energy.
So two thoughts here, and it goes back to what you just said. There are no bad stories, only bad storytellers. And then the oldest, cliche saying is too many cooks in the kitchen. So, if too many people are trying to make a story work or get involved, then yes. And personal experience again, worked on I won't say the title, but I worked on a movie where there were so many people. I was doing script revisions on it. So many people were handing me notes, and I'm talking about from the head of the studio to the actor to the director to somebody's agent to somebody's friend. So I would be given all these notes for one scene, and then I'm just like, okay, I guess I gotta assemble this somehow. And it was just too many people involved. The movie completely tanked, ruined a lot of careers. I'm not gonna mention what movie it was.
Yeah.
Welcome to Mooseport. Gene Hackman, Ray Romano. But it was.
I was gonna say the example I was thinking of in my head was Skyline.
Skyline.
Which is
that's right.
And that's by the way, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody ever in terms of my point of view on things, even though I'm right, I'm sorry. But Skyline is the prime example. If you're head of a studio, here's some free advice. Never, ever, ever allow a visual effects supervisor the title of director of a feature film, especially when you're spending $180 million on it, plus marketing.
Wow, was that the budget for that one?
Oh, I think it was actually 200.
Oh, jeez.
It was his first fucking movie.
All right. Well, okay.
Or second, maybe.
Let's talk about one that has bugged me forever, and that is Suicide Squad.
Oh,
$300 million budget.
Are you kidding me?
You have unlimited resources, talent at your disposal.
On day one, we were talking about it.
And I'm halfway through this movie that is, overload of the senses, and I turn to the people next to me, and we're yawning and going, "Why are we yawning?" It's because there was no story.
You're exactly right.
Right. That's
exactly right. So I'm just going back to. I'm referring to my notes. I switched to. I turned a page, and so now I got new notes. I'm excited.
Excellent.
I'm doing good on time. Characteristics over character. Suicide Squad. Prime example.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean,
Let's
anything
give
with Margot Robbie in it, how could it go wrong?
Right. Yeah. Well, several ways.
Yeah.
I talked about.
Sorry.
I didn't.
Yeah. You just have a thing against figure skaters.
I hate figure skaters. No, but characteristics over character.
Yes.
The superhero movies are prime examples. You know what I mean? It's surfacey. It's and it's gonna tie into my. I'm actually gonna bring in my movie suggestion for the show and lead it in, and we'll circle back on it. Logan.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Logan was the best movie made last year,
Mm.
hands down. And the fact that Get Out won Best Screenplay, I understand why. I know why. Get Out's a very good script, but you know where they failed? At the end. The last 10 minutes, they didn't fulfill the story. He built the story, but he didn't fulfill it at the end. Logan, however, built a incredible journey about a character, not the characteristics.
I got
you know what I mean?
Yep.
That and put him through roadblock after roadblock, difficulty after difficulty, and then we get to see what choice that character makes. We put this roadblock in front of him. Does he go this way or does he go that way?
Yeah.
Or does he go through it? He tried to go through it, and then that didn't. You know what I mean? Like, and then the ending was completely fulfilling of not only in the entire story, every character involved. I mean, that is a standalone movie. Maybe that's why, because it was done and it was done at a weird time where Fox got bought over by Disney.
Right.
It's only no, Disney already did. They already required all the X-Men. You think Disney's ever going to produce an X-Men movie or a superhero movie of the quality of Logan? Never. never, because too many hands in the pot. They let James Mangold do it because he was successful in the first one, and Hugh Jackman has enough star power, and you know, was in Kate and Leopold with it, you know what I mean? Like, Mangold helped launch his career.
So, again, name dropping on Kate and Leopold. That's right. So, all right. So, why did Logan not get the accolades as far as
Because-
best script?
because
Is
the-
because it's a franchise, and I don't think the Academy's looking at it that way. I look at that. That's my.
Well, it was
so-
nominated as like a token, you know, as like their hats off
But
Mangold.
great
but like,
standalone from the franchise, and to go back to
Yeah.
its character versus characters, right?
character versus characteristics.
Characteristics, yeah.
It's like look at an ensemble piece, you know what I mean? Like look at some ensemble pieces that are lame, and look at some that are incredible.
How would you do the end of Get Out differently? Like, where do you
Tough to
see
explain.
it?
It was just it just all of a sudden it turned into a horror, like a
Sure.
slasher. You know what I mean? Like your typical ending.
The
It was
only
super
thing would
smart
be
up until then.
He's finally getting out. What would have happened if the ending he actually
Oh,
didn't
and
get out?
I think.
Oh, don't spoil it.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
If you haven't seen it, fuck off.
It's called Get Out.
Spoiler alerts for everything. God.
he gets what? Sorry.
He gets shout.
Yeah.
No, but I saw a thing with the is it Key? Whatever. Whoever the writer-director is.
Yes.
Key and Peele, one of the Jordan Peele. Like one of the earlier endings, and I don't know if they shot it and put it in and tested it or whatever, which by the way, testing, I don't know. That he gets arrested, like at the end, when the cops show up, you know what I mean? He did, and I was like that would have been a satisfying ending
Sure.
for me.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you flip the script on everything, and then you still like, you stayed true to like,
True.
you know, instead of,
Pulling out
I don't know, a
and
happy
shooting
ending
everybody.
theoretically.
Yeah.
It wasn't a happy ending, but like,
You were relieved, audience, or I was anyways, relieved that yes, he does make it. And another spoiler alert, the deer that gets hit by a car does die. Just so you know. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
let me talk, and this, we're talking about characteristics versus character. Let me give you an example of this recently that I've seen. We all know The Punisher, right?
Yes.
Very dear to me, the character of the Punisher. Growing up with him, I know, you know what I mean. I know what drives him. It's not like, yes, I know, like, oh yeah, there was this one comic where he went to Brazil and blasted up Jigsaw. You know what I mean? Like that was cool action. But like as the character, what the thing that was motivating him through every decision that he made throughout every comic book, I understood why, because I understood where he came from as a character. The Daredevil TV series, like the first season or second season, when they introduced the Punisher, they did a fantastic job of nailing the character, and he was just the supporting, right? And then they spun off and did the Punisher's own TV series, and I was super excited for it.
Yeah.
And the fucking first thing they do is they make him they give him PTSD, because that's popular right now. And I was so pissed.
Yeah.
I was so fucking pissed. They made, you know, like, Afghanistan, PTSD, that's why he's fucked up. No, that's not why he's fucked up. He's fucked up because his mom and child were blown up in a car in front of his house. You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not PTSD. Don't just make it whatever's popular. Don't just force it into our current zeitgeist. You know what I mean? That's bullshit. You lost the character. You didn't stay true to it. And so I fucking...
Did you even finish the series?
Hell
That was in
no.
like the first 5 minutes of the series.
No, I don't need to, because I was already disappointed. I watched like the first two episodes, and
you're
like
a
it's like,
diehard fan. You are.
I struggle.
Right? So,
Yes,
so I mean,
yeah,
you're a very hard audience to for them to So question. You know, the people who are behind the series that are producing it. They had to have had that discussion, and by doing that, were they trying to branch it into a wider audience that people can relate to, or?
I think it became popular.
Yeah.
Look, if nobody gave a shit about Daredevil, they wouldn't have the Punisher spinoff.
Yeah.
So it was a business decision.
Yeah.
Business decision, black and white, clear as day in my head. Too many more hands in the pot, right? Daredevil, he's just a secondary character. We don't have our eyes on him as much. The writers, Drew Goddard, fucking show creator, brilliant writer, fucking knows story well. Watch the Planet of the Apes movies, like, right? I think, yeah, that's him.
I heard those scripts were written by 1,000 monkeys in a room.
Well, then, yeah, they got back to the, shadows in a cave and stuff like that. But like, so he was able to build that character and do, we all know sometimes the greatest characters in movies are not the leads.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
100%.
A lot of times.
So and then I think Netflix is just getting more and more hands in the pot, like you said, and too many people trying to dictate how are we gonna capitalize off. It pissed me off. Sorry, dude. I went off for a little bit. I wrote it down. I wanted to make sure I brought it up, which will lead me into the last thing, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. Like, I'm bashing the studios a lot, and I'm bashing a lot of these movies that are extraordinarily successful and make billions of dollars, and like, who am I to fucking say anything against them?
Describe you're just doing success on a money scale.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your term of success.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm asking you. If people are listening, and like, is success like just getting known, or
sure? I mean,
everybody
who won an award for the Academies did make $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, I just I don't care about that shit. But
is success just able to actually get your movie greenlit and in the can and released?
No. I think success is a filmmaker.
Because that's about impossible right there.
No, it's a film. I'll tell you. Give you a really good example, actually.
Yeah.
A movie called fucking.
That's an X-rated one.
It's the title will come to me, but it's there's a movie called Bellflower that was made like 10 years ago or something like that. Great story. Like, these two filmmakers, they're up in like Bakersfield or something like that. They worked on the movie for like 2 years, like built their own flamethrowers, did everything themselves. Like, it's just like post-apocalyptic love story type thing. Movie's not that good, but they did it. Mm-hmm. And it was like, the trailer, spectacle, and they got to, get more offers and stuff. And one of the filmmakers, the next movie he did, that he wrote and directed, so good. The story is just incredible. It has no names in it. This no-name kid that looks like a Ryan Gosling, look-alike, so much so, like, I googled, like, is this Ryan Gosling's little brother? Did Ryan Gosling's little brother start acting? I'll look up the title of the movie and I'll put it somewhere in the comments below. But like, the story was just fantastic, yet we don't know his name and he's not doing anything. I forget where I was going with that, but forget where you were starting that got me on that path.
Let's see.
Oh, we were talking about the line of success and like what?
What's your line of success?
Yeah.
So my line of success for that kid is he's a fucking successful filmmaker, because Sean Baker doesn't have $1 billion, but Sean Baker is a better filmmaker than anybody out there right now, up and coming. You know what I mean? Like. My level of success is like, how good is your movie based on my scale? I sit and I give you my full attention, and
the RynoRyder.
The RynoRyder scale.
Stamp of approval.
Yeah.
So.
Let's talk real quick. I've been bashing on these movies and stuff like that, and I apologize if I have offended anyone. But I wrote down here that it's not the writer's fault, like whoever wrote. I think Ryan Coogler got the writing credit for Black Panther, and he is a terrific writer and he is a great writer director. But when you're at that, when you go from like a $500,000 picture to that, there's no way they're gonna let you have full control.
Well, Gordon, like you were saying, you were getting notes from the head of the studio to the actor.
Well, you bring up a really good point, and it's something that started going wrong in the industry. And this, I've been doing this for the last 20 years, where I saw this trend where when a script was optioned and the movie went into production, the writer was there all the way through production, sitting next to the director with the producers, and if the actor had needed a dialogue tweak or whatever, somebody came up with a better idea, it was handled. Somewhere along the industry, scripts were being optioned and then the writers were paid off and not brought into the creative mix anymore.
Yeah.
And then they would hire the assistant to whoever to do revisions. And that's actually how I got my start. I was just doing script revisions, but really I was like an assistant being paid like nothing at all, lunch money basically to be there. But I was being given all the notes from everybody to make it better, and then I was just inputting it into what I thought would make sense. Now I'm not saying I'm responsible for bad movies, but it is a trend where the writer was almost like the bastard child. Where it was like, no, we're just going to option this, and when this goes into production, it'll get paid off, and then the writer was not invited into the process anymore. I know that
and now,
changing back
and now, like, the only time you see that, again, my fucking opinion, but the only time you see that is if you're Aaron Sorkin, or you're, you know what I mean? It's like, then they're there every single day, every step of the process, involved, you know what I mean? They're the ones making the revisions, even if somebody else is giving them notes. Not to say that, like there are some like great, creative producers, Scott Rudin and stuff like that, can give some really creative notes. And the rights, and some of the actors can give you notes and like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. But let the writer digest those and then infuse them, infuse it into the story. So I don't even know, because I've never like been in like hard in the studio system.
In the machine? I've been in the machine.
Only like on an independent level, and that's bad enough. I can't imagine the process to which a Disney script goes. Like, is there even like a first draft? Like, is there one person that comes? You know what I mean?
That's, or is it just a team of like the writers? You only put a name on it.
Or is it like we need to insert this and then put that?
Just so everybody knows, for your audience and for the room, there is no such thing as a perfect script. Script is always...
I disagree. I've written like 12 of them.
but a script is always in flux. That
100%.
Meaning that, yes, when the script is done and you've got people excited and it's going to go to camera, once you bring in the right director and the right actors and that magic comes together, these people bring new elements to the story, and the story has to change. Also, in reality, when you're on a production, sure, if you're a studio and you have endless amounts of cash, that helps. But if you are an independent and you are tight on your schedule and getting everything, and you look at the weather for the next week is going to be raining, and we're going to be shooting outside for the next week, you have to, on the fly, like move things around and get creative, and that's where a script. So when I say a script is always in flux, or there's no such thing, except, yes, in my experience, I've always seen a script go through revisions while we're filming. So, and usually hopefully for the best. Not always.
Is there still, because I know there used to be, just from like reading books and stuff, that like it used to be like the green draft, you know what I mean? It was like shoot, and then like next week it was pink, and next week it was yellow. And it's like, what, you're still on blue? Like you need to be on magenta.
Every script starts as a white script, and when you lock a script, if any changes happen, you take out those pages. Let's say 7 pages of being revised, you take out those 7 pages and you insert a new color, which is usually pink first, and there's a scale. So in production, there's a revision scale that is usually white, pink, blue, yellow, magenta. They get into like when things really go bad, salmon. And then when you run through the color scale, they go back to the original, but they call it double blue, double pink, double yellow. And then when they go through the color scale again, it goes triple blue, triple. And this is an example of a production gone wrong. I've worked on scripts where you're in quadruple blue revisions, where every day pages are being ripped out and being thrown back in, and that it's a disaster.
And isn't that just? I mean, that's because of ego. Right?
Ego is the number one killer for any
Right.
project.
I was gonna say, at one point, isn't there this huge like warning light going when you're in triple blue
Oh.
and quadruple blue? You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
where's this? I would leave one of those where like you reread it, it's like this isn't even the same script.
Yeah.
We're in a different location. Like, what's going on?
So just for your audience, for people who aren't in the know, the reason why they also do it is it keeps everybody on the same page. You know, that pun intended, whatever. Yeah. So that is like if you walk into a meeting because there's 500 people on your set. And everybody walks in for a production meeting, and everybody's got a blue script, and you walk in with a yellow script.
Yeah.
You're behind, or something's gone wrong. So that is one of the reasons. The other one is scripts and filmmaking is still done old-fashioned. Everything's printed on paper because all the keys and everybody who are working on put notes, like you've made notes in your script today, because it's easier to on the fly make a note, like somebody comes up with a suggestion. Now let's say it's your wardrobe person has their whole script with notes for all the characters written in there, and then somebody comes along and says, no, there's new pages coming. So instead of throwing out the entire script with all your notes that you could never go back and replace, it's a lot easier to just exchange one or two pages where those revisions actually have been affected. So that is why the other reason why
if you already wrote notes on those old pages, tough shit.
Yeah,
you gotta
because
redo
it's
it.
changed, because the scene has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So script is always in flux. Good Will Hunting, for example, is the only project that I've worked on that they only had one revision that happened after they went to camera. So it started off as a white script, and when we finished filming, it only had one draft of revisions, which was a blue revision, and after that, the script was.
You're like, this is gonna be easy.
That's
actually
that's actually a perfect place to end because
totally.
I just because I know you worked on that.
Yeah.
I know your whole story. We'll get to that, some other time. But it was on TV and I watched it again. That movie's that script is so good.
It's
so good. So, which leads us all back. Where has story gone? It's obviously gone somewhere. But if you, and I don't know personally or anything, but like use Matt and Ben as an example, or Sylvester Stallone. I'd be curious to see how many revisions, how many color changes they went with the Rocky script. I know he did, tons before.
Apparently he wrote it, I don't know if this is an exaggeration, like Walt Disney's head is frozen, but apparently Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky in 3 days.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Can we, after the show, can we just look to verify
Can
that?
Can I go on? I'm going to go on record now.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record.
Yeah.
The script I'm going to win the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay,
Yeah.
I wrote in 4 days.
Yeah, because
The
you're...
screenplay. The screenplay.
Sometimes it's like an artist and a canvas. It's just like...
No, it's you did a shit ton of groundwork.
There you go.
And
Yeah.
outline, you know what I mean? So you knew your character, you knew the story, you knew everything that was going to happen. I did so much pre-work on that screenplay that when came time for me to just, it was like transferring information from one computer to another, only just in a screenplay format. I wrote like 45 pages day 1, 40-something day 2, 36 day 3, and then killed it on like 52 on day 4.
Wow.
And it's a 150-page screenplay, and it's fucking brilliant. It's going to win me the Oscar.
What's it called?
And Oscar.
What's hanging out with my shaman in IKEA? Is that the title?
That's it. All right. Well, that's about it. We're wrapped up on time, about an hour. So, Gordon Whiskey, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Mr. RynoRyder.
Josh Boyer, thank you very much once again.
Always a pleasure.
And in the meantime, go write a fucking movie. RynoRyder out. Peace.
Tail Slate.
Tail Slate. All right.
Sweet, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, right. And the hour goes by much faster than you think.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
It's a little shaky
When
times, but I try
when
to
you said
like,
an hour, I was like, an hour for everyone? I was like,